All right, we're actually going to skip over this one. We're going to watch this one first. We're going to continue on in this trend with the ICE, and then we're going to go into the Iranian. So what message? Caroline Levitt's back with a message to anti-ICE agitators.
All right, let's bring in the White House Press Secretary, Caroline Levitt, joining us now live from the White House. Caroline, welcome to you. Welcome back.
Thank you, guys. Great to be with you.
All right, so let's start there. Can we protect these ICE officers lawfully carrying out their duties?
Yeah.
Well, the administration fully intends to. President Trump and the entire Trump administration stands firmly with the brave men and women of ICE, who are everyday Americans who put on their uniform every day to protect our communities and to carry out lawful law enforcement operations. That's what's been.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Trump said on the campaign trail that he was going to give more federal protections to law enforcement.
Happening on the ground in Minnesota, and that's what's been taking place in every community across the country. And I just want to zoom out, and you see these agitators who have been violently protesting and harassing ICE agents all weekend long. What are they out there protesting for? They are actively trying to impede law enforcement operations and end the President Trump's mandate to deport illegal alien criminals from our communities. And it's Fox News' very own Bill Malugin, who had exceptional reporting in the last.
Because it's white Karens. They have everything going for them. The hardest part of their day is what TV show to watch, what to look up on their phone, and what fucking iced coffee to drink. So now that they have no problems, especially in Western civilizations, and I say no problems as in, they don't have to worry about transportation, food, housing, anything major like that. That now they're trying to make everybody else's problems their own. And, it's the same thing with like the whole Palestine thing. I don't think they truly believe in this, but they just, they're bored. They need something to do.
Last few days, these are illegal alien criminal pedophiles, murderers, rapists, some of the worst criminals who, if given the chance, would commit those same heinous crimes to the protesters in the streets of Minneapolis right now. So
absolutely they would.
Yes, of course. We are surging resources to Minneapolis, and the Trump administration is going to deliver on President Trump's mandate to remove violent illegal aliens from our communities and make America safe again.
Yeah, get them the fuck out.
Apprehensions got the attention of even some Democrats. Michael LaRosa, who's going to be with us next hour, put out on X, WTF is Minnesota thinking about trying to protect people like this.
That's right.
In terms of.
Yeah, it's great. This shit is so fucked up that even some of the Democrats are like, bro, what the fuck are we doing? Like, how are people standing against the ICE agents to get these illegals out, to stop the fraud with the Somalians? Like, how are you okay doing this? I think it's fucking fantastic that even Democrats are starting to come around.
What happened last Wednesday and the officer who was involved in the shooting, does the president stand fully behind that officer? That
he should.
Does the
he
president
should
believe his actions were justified?
Absolutely. And I think the more evidence that comes out shows the officer was justified, and President Trump was right about this all along. And who was wrong? The Democrat Party and the mainstream media, who despicably have been lying about this officer and about this case from the very beginning. And they have had to change their story and their narrative. Because at first, you heard Democrats, including the mayor of Minneapolis, saying that the car never struck the officer and the force was unjustified. Now, of course, there is plentiful video evidence to show that the officer was struck by the car.
Let's see if I can find one of those videos real quick. Minneapolis. Let's see if I can find one of these videos. Let me see. Is this going to be one of those? Is this going to be it? I'll watch this. Hello? All right, here we go.
Right now on News 19 at 11, we are diving into more details of newly obtained cell phone video taken by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency involved in the deadly shooting of Renee Nicole Good over Minneapolis. It reportedly shows a different angle of that encounter and the moments leading up to Wednesday's deadly shooting. As the FBI investigation gets underway, protests and vigils were also held across the city. We have the very latest tonight from Minneapolis.
Newly released cell phone video obtained by CBS News appears to show the ICE agent's point of view and what are likely Renee Good's last words.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
That's Good inside the SUV and her wife outside the vehicle talking to the ICE officer before the shooting.
Go get yourself some lunch.
Okay, so before we get into this, I never actually seen any of these videos. I just, heard about it, kind of read some stuff. So I'm watching this video for the first time. But my understanding from what I read is that they antagonized the ICE agent and she hit him with her car after blocking him and he shot her.
Big boy.
Once through the windshield, two through the side window.
Another officer orders Good out of the SUV and she starts to drive. On Friday, Minnesota prosecutor Mary Moriarty asked the public for any video or other evidence in the fatal shooting.
We are concerned that the evidence obtained in an investigation that has only been conducted at the federal level will not be shared with our office for review.
CBS News has confirmed the agent who shot
She hit him.
is Jonathan Ross, who has worked with ICE in Minnesota for nearly a decade and was involved in another vehicle-related incident last June. Court documents show he was dragged approximately 100 yards with his arm inside a car while trying to execute an immigration warrant.
Shit.
As the investigation continues, protests and vigils for Good were held across the region. Community and faith leaders gathered at the Minnesota State Capitol.
We deserve to feel safe.
Then you shouldn't be
This is not a
illegal.
political statement. That is a basic human right.
Students attended
If you want to feel safe and have your basic human rights, leave the fucking country and come in correctly as a legal immigrant. It's not fucking hard.
Minneapolis public schools were not in class Friday, and the school district is now offering families remote learning through mid-February.
We keep us safe. ICE out of our schools, ICE out of Minneapolis, ICE out of Minnesota.
A memorial of flowers and candles continues to grow at the scene of Good's death. Erin Hassanzadeh, CBS News.
If I was Trump, I would double the fuck down. I would double down on this shit. I would send every available resource and ICE agent to Minnesota. I would completely swarm Minneapolis, and I would just completely double down and execute 2-3 times more immigration warrants than what you were doing before. Federalize the Minnesota National Guard, send them to fucking Minneapolis, and just be done with this shit. And then fucking while you're there, continue doing your fraud investigation, collect as much evidence as you need, and just if it turns out to be true, then fucking arrest Tim Waltz and put him on trial and just completely swarm Minnesota and just shut this shit the fuck down. If I was Trump, that's exactly what I would do.
That this deranged lunatic woman was trying to ram him over with her vehicle and was using that vehicle as a weapon, which
deadly weapon,
domestic terrorism. And unfortunately, we are seeing these instances play out in American communities across the country, where you have these organized, paid antagonists who are part of these groups that are actively, unlawfully impeding lawful law enforcement operations. They are harassing and targeting ICE agents, trying to make it impossible, again, for them to carry out their duties. That's what was happening in this case. That officer used his training. I understand that he's been on the force and he's been protecting American communities for many, many years. He's an experienced and brave individual.
See all this shit here? Nah. Over a lady who tried to kill an ICE officer, who tried to kill a federal agent, Again, I said it watching the other video, and I'll say it again. Trump needs to absolutely swarm Minnesota, especially Minneapolis, and federalize the Minnesota National Guard. Have them go into Minneapolis and just shut this shit the fuck down. Just have it done and over with. Execute your warrants. Continue your federal investigation into the fraud. And just take your action and shut it down. Or else it's just going to continue to grow. There's going to be more incidents with ICE. And it's going to spread even more to other parts of the country.
Who unfortunately had to make a very tough decision and was put in that position by these paid agitators who have been doing this all over the country.
Caroline, tomorrow we expect the president to deliver a message on the economy, a programming alert for our viewers. We believe that will be happening. Is it 2 o'clock Eastern time or 2 o'clock local? Detroit. Well, it is Detroit. It's Eastern time, 2 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll carry that right here. What will his message be now, just months from the midterm elections? What really will he dial into as his winning message on the economy?
Well, President Trump, since January 20th of last year, has been laser focused on making America affordable again. And he is doing just that. So tomorrow, he looks forward to traveling to the great state of Michigan, a state he won big, to not only tour a factory that produces Ford F-150s and is going to be hiring more and producing more trucks right here in the USA because of President Trump's effective tariff policies. But the president is also going to deliver an economic address where he's going to talk about all of the positive economic news that we continue to see as a result of his agenda. We have
I do want to
mortgage
watch
rates
that
are
then.
falling under 6% for the first time in years. Today, the national average of gasoline is the lowest that it's been in 5 years. We have core
Wasn't
inflation
it like
at its
270
lowest
something
level in
nationwide?
5 years. And so with a little bit of patience, the American people are going to continue to see that the best is yet to come. President Trump has a proven economic formula that works. He delivered on it in his first term. He's delivering on it now. And in 2026, people in Michigan and in every state across the country are going to see more money in their pockets thanks to President Trump's working families tax cut that he signed into law last year. Those tax rebates will go into effect this year, and the average American, middle-class American, can look forward to up to $1,000 back into their wallets because of those signature tax cuts. So the best is yet to come. There's a lot of positive economic news out there. The president's not going to stop working. He has housing plans in the works. He has a health care plan in the works. And so you'll continue to hear from the president, and he'll continue to hit the road across the country to speak.
Can we just bring the fucking houses of prices and apartments down? Like, that's what we need to do. That is really, truly what we need to do. Like, this shit is so out of control. It's been so out of control for years. We need to basically kind of bring this shit back to pre-COVID prices. Like, when Trump was president the first time, regardless if you love him or hate him, I mean, the fucking economy, it was great. Gas was like $1 something. People could afford houses, you know. I'm hoping Trump is able to get the economy back to somewhat of a semblance that he had before.
Directly with the people he loves most, the American people.
All right, so that is tomorrow afternoon. And Programming Note will be carrying that speech live from Detroit. Then let's look ahead to Thursday, where it's just been announced that the president is going to be meeting with the Venezuelan opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado. The president said after Maduro was deposed and captured and brought to the United States that he didn't believe that Machado had the support within Venezuela to become at least the interim president. Her proxy, Edmundo Gonzalez, in the last election that they had in Venezuela, got more than 80% of the vote, according to some counts. Why did the president not believe she would have the support to become interim president?
Well, I think President Trump and his national security team made a realistic assessment of the reality on the ground in Venezuela, and that decision has turned out to be a good one because look at what President Trump
I don't
and
know
his
too
team
much
have
on
been able to
this.
accomplish in just a little over a week since the capture of the illegitimate dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, who continues to sit in a jail cell in New York. Look at what has happened. We've had complete cooperation thus far from the interim authorities in Venezuela. You've seen the president has been able to cut a $500 billion energy deal. 31 million barrels of oil are now making their way.
Yeah, that the oil I know a little bit more about. So I know a couple of like our top oil companies in the United States and a couple of like worldwide top oil companies are going into Venezuela and redoing the whole infrastructure of the oil plants and shit, and they're gonna be hiring Venezuelan workers to come in and run these plants. And then it's like, I think like 60% of the oil or some shit is going to be sent over to the United States. Like billions of barrels of oil we're going to get, which is going to help dramatically reduce fucking gas prices and shit like that.
Way to the United States to be sold, and that money is going into an account that is controlled by the United States government. I mean, the world has never seen such success like this before, and it's because of the creative thinking, but also the action.
It's because Trump don't give a
Trump
fuck.
and his entire national security team. We also know the interim authorities in Venezuela have agreed to release their political prisoners, which is something the United States has wanted to see for quite some time. So we've seen a lot of cooperation thus far, and the president expects that to continue.
Final question on the independence of the Fed. There are some concerned at this moment based on the new actions by the Feds to open a probe into the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell. President Trump has made it very clear how he feels about the Federal Reserve Chair and his actions while chairing the Fed. Can you assure independence of the Federal Reserve, and where will this be going next, this probe?
Well, look, as for the criminal probe, you'll have to ask the Department of Justice about that. They are in charge.
Yeah, she's not going to know much about it.
Powell has proven he's not very good at his job. As to whether
No,
he's
he's
a criminal,
fucking
that's an answer
incompetent.
the Department of Justice is going to have to find, and whether or not they do, I'd defer that to them.
And let's finish off, if we could, with Iran, because tomorrow the president is going to be meeting with his national security team. Reports are that he's going to be weighing options on what to do to push back against Iran killing innocent protesters who are simply saying that they want a better economy, and some of them now are calling for a regime change. The Speaker of Iran's parliament,
yeah, they're trying to get rid of the Ayatollah.
Weekend, calling him, quote, delusional, also saying if you have the courage to come to Iran, we will discipline you, which many people might find quite laughable considering the beating that Iran took the last time the United States tangled with it. But the president also said that Iran called and said it wants to negotiate. Could you put a little more meat on the bones of that?
Well, sure, I'm happy to. Those comments you just referred to are laughable, and they are just from one member of the Iranian regime's alleged parliament. What I will tell you is
we're going to get a little bit
Iranian
into the
regime is saying
Iranian
publicly
stuff
is quite different
in a
from the
bit.
messages they are sending to the United States and the Trump administration privately. President Trump, as for him, he has always expressed that diplomacy is the first option, always has been, always will be. However, he is unafraid to use the lethal force and might of the United States military if and when he deems that necessary. And nobody knows that better than the Iranian regime. The greatest leverage the regime had just several months ago was their nuclear program, which President Trump and the United States military totally obliterated through Operation Midnight Hammer. And so what
Yeah, we sent a bunch of stealth bombers over, dropped a couple bunker buster bombs, and blew the living hell out of their nuclear program. Hold on 1 second. Oh, it came? Oh, sweet. Nice. I got to set this up then. But yeah, as I was saying was, we dropped a couple bunker buster bombs right into their underground nuclear facilities, blew the living hell out of them, and sent them back to the fucking Stone Age when it comes to nuclear technology.
What President Trump will do next, only he knows, so the world will have to keep waiting and guessing, and we will let him decide. I'm certainly not going to broadcast any future options or decisions from the president on national television.
All right, Caroline Levitt joining us live from the White House, our very own private White House press briefing. Thank you so much.
We always
Caroline.
appreciate that. Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks, guys.
Caroline Levitt, I mean, every time I listen to her speak, it's fucking phenomenal. She doesn't give a shit. She'll tell reporters exactly how it is. And she is completely loyal to whether that's a good thing or bad thing. You all can decide for yourself. She's completely loyal to the administration. And she does what she can to answer the questions. Like, I think she's a phenomenal press secretary. All right, so we got more shit about ICE coming up. We're gonna finish. Watching these protesters about ICE, and then we're gonna finish up with what's going on with Iran. I'm not sure if these two videos are kind of the same, but yeah, I mean, we're kind of take a look at them. See what's going on. Let's watch this.
It's not just Minneapolis. Anti-ICE protests are ramping up across the country, including here in New York City.
Well, of course they are.
Live from Foley Square, that's in Lower Manhattan. Hi, CB.
Dana, good morning. Over the weekend, protesters flooded this area in front of New York's ICE field office and the streets of Manhattan, all in protest of immigration enforcement and the Trump administration. Sunday's demonstration was one of the largest yet in New York City since anti-ICE protests first began last week. And NYPD.
No war, no kings, no ICE. Like, I still don't understand why these people are protesting so hard to keep illegal immigrant criminals in this country. Like, if these people, I don't know, man. Honestly, it frustrates me. You got all these illegals here that are doing crimes, that are taking away the resources, the government programs for actual citizens. And then you got a whole bunch of people here who are protesting to keep these people in the country. Why would you want to keep people in the country that are murderers, criminals, belong to cartels, belong to violent gangs that hurt kids? Like, why? Why do you want to keep them in this country? Send them the fuck back, or send them to what's that country where we have that prison in? Can't think of it off the top of my head. What? Just stop. I can't say what I really want to say, but the best thing for Trump and ICE to do is, wherever these protests are, just federalize the National Guard there, send them in, and just start arresting people. Because if you are protesting to keep people in this country that hurt kids, hurt other people, that are violent criminals, that belong to gangs, then there's something in your history that it needs to be investigated. Like, reopen the mental institutions, bring back the insane asylums, and arrest all these people and throw them the fuck in there.
PD source telling me at one point 5,000 people were marching in response.
I know I have a lot of unpopular opinions, but honestly, I just don't care.
Messages. At least one person was taken into custody. The White House has called the death of Renee Nicole Good an act of self-defense against a domestic terrorist. But protesters in the Big Apple called it a murder, insisting that the ICE agent didn't.
It's not a fucking murder.
I mean, I do understand that vehicles can be dangerous, but a vehicle that is just starting to move, you have plenty of time to move away and be safe.
No, you
In
don't.
Portland, Oregon, Los Angeles, and Austin, Texas, there were clashes between officers and protesters, and officers in riot gear had to take away several people. I spoke to one Canadian tourist who wonders how long the anti-ICE movement will unfold on American streets.
Do these people have jobs?
No.
If they don't have jobs.
No, they don't
are
fucking
just
have
going
jobs.
out and just doing this because they don't have jobs, or if they have jobs, are they taking time off work to do this?
They're doing it because they're fucking bored.
And we're monitoring for more anti-ICE protests to possibly pop up today. Dana, back over to you.
All right, CB, we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you.
So, want to bring in DHS Senior Advisor Ron Vitiello. Ron, thanks for coming on, and good morning to you, and thank you for your time. The mayor of Minneapolis yesterday said the government's story on what's happening there was a false narrative. You're calling in hundreds of more agents. Why do you need them?
Well, he's been irresponsible with his comments from the minute that this thing became public. It starts with a core belief that people in the country that are here illegally and have committed other crimes don't deserve to be arrested and removed from the United States.
Yes, they do.
So he has it absolutely wrong.
100% they do.
He's encouraging this lawless behavior. There are no assistance from the state and locals in Minnesota, which makes it much more difficult for the men and women of the front line that are out there. And so I would ask him to reflect on what's happened so far, what they did to precipitate what happened, and take another look here. There is an opportunity for them to cooperate with the federal government to enforce federal law. I don't think they will take that, so the additional resources will allow the men and women on the front line to do their job more safely with the authorities that they have.
Ron, yesterday Tom Homan was asked about the officer who did the shooting, about what happened to him 6 months ago when he was dragged by a car. Watch here.
You think that?
Yes, this guy was dragged by a car trying to execute an ICE warrant, and then he got hit by another car on Wednesday of last week, and he shot back. Killed the lady. And honestly, it just sucks to be her. Shouldn't have been there. Shouldn't have done what she did.
Experience from 6 months ago, which the vice president detailed, may have impacted Officer Ross's judgment. Is that the argument?
It may have. I mean, he was under attack once with a vehicle, so certainly. But the environment right now with the threats against ICE officers have been shot at. They've been doxxed. They've been, again, assaults up over 1,300%. Threats alone up 8,000%.
Yeah, she shouldn't have been there.
Or will you continue in the future to adjust training for these ICE officers to deal with the fact that not only are they to try to get the criminal illegal immigrants out, but they're also dealing with protesters? Like those piercing whistles, for me, my very sensitive ears would be torture. So I imagine that they're just under a lot of pressure from a lot of...
Yeah, those whistles, man. Like, yell at them, curse at them, do what you want to do, verbally. But just get rid of the fucking whistles. It is so annoying.
A lot of different angles on things that they might not have had to be trained on before.
That's right. They'll upgrade their tactics. They'll learn from the lessons that we have so far. They'll continue to improve, but they'll continue also to deploy and try to accomplish the role that they have, which is to protect all of us. And the state and locals could engage here. They could allow people to protest. Protesting is fine. We all believe wholeheartedly in the First Amendment, and people have a right to protest their government. But getting in the way of officers, blocking traffic for them not allowing them to do their job, or swarming them when they're out making arrests, that's not protests. That's impeding federal officers.
That's obstructing a federal officer.
Support is
necessary. It's an arrestable offense.
There's a huge
Get them the fuck out.
effort going on to uncover the fraud and those responsible in Minneapolis and Minnesota. And that is going to yield results as well, because they're going to find out these networks of people who are allied to steal from America's safety net. And in the meanwhile, they'll be finding the criminals and arresting them and putting them on a path for removal in the city.
I'm sure you're aware that perception has a lot to do with what's happening and how people are reacting. And it's quite emotional. I mean, last week, I think, was something else.
Here's the only perception that you need to understand about what just happened. Okay. ICE was in Minneapolis executing a federal warrant to remove an illegal immigrant or illegal criminal immigrants. I don't remember if it was one or more than one. some lady who was from a different state was leading a group of protesters against ICE. She blocked ICE. She blocked the ICE vehicle with her own car. As the agents got out, they were telling her to stop, to get out of the car. Her wife got involved, started trying to antagonize the ICE agents. They ignored her, and they proceeded to try to, I'm going to say detain, but I'm not exactly sure if that's the correct word to use right now. But we're going to say detain the lady in the vehicle. She then backed up her vehicle, okay, kind of got stuck a little bit, and they kept trying to antagonize the officers. One officer was standing in front of the vehicle, trying to give her orders, and other agents were also coming over to try to help. She then hit on the gas, hit the ICE agent. The agent opened fire, killing her. It was a completely justifiable self-defense shooting. You may not agree with it, you may not like it, but if what was her name? Renee? If her car did not get stuck on that ice the way it did, she would have ran this agent over, and at the very best, she would have severely injured him. At the very worst, she would have killed him. Again, I know I have unpopular opinions on this, but it is a complete 100% justifiable self-defense shooting. That's the only perception you need.
What side of the story you're on here? In the end,
That's the perception of truth.
Here is a Democratic congressman out of Massachusetts talking about ICE and fear. Watch here.
No law enforcement officer should be accosted or harassed or assaulted, and there should
Agreed.
be penalties of law for so doing. And no U.S. citizen should be afraid of their own government, and that is what ICE has created. They have stopped being
No, they
the
haven't.
law, and they have started being an instrument of fear.
Okay, we missed
No, they
the
have
first
not.
part of that, but the end is important. An instrument of fear. Instrument of fear. I know you.
ICE is not an instrument of fear.
Well, I don't believe that's the case. If you're here legally in the United States, if you're a U.S. citizen and you stay out of the way of lawful law enforcement operations, you won't have a problem. He's proving the point that they don't want anyone in the country that's here illegally to be arrested under any circumstance. We can all feel sorry for what happened to this lady and others, but the work will continue, and it's necessary after the chaos and invasion that we had in the 4 years under Joe Biden.
Ron Vitiello, we appreciate you joining us on a Monday morning. Thank you.
So it was a tragedy what happened to her. Absolutely. It is tragedy. It's heartbreaking, but it was also a making of her own doing. She suffered the consequences of her own actions. ICE is not used as an instrument of fear. Okay, at least from everything I've been seeing so far with Trump becoming president. What was it? About a year ago now. I think it's like 8 days away and he'll be president for a year now or some shit like that. I have not seen ICE used as an instrument of fear. I've seen ICE used in its fullest capacity. While it is a tragedy, like I said, what happened to this lady, stop obstructing federal agents. Let them do their job. Let them get rid of these fucking criminals. And then we can all have a country that we want to live in. I don't want split view. So I'm not sure if this is the same thing. So we're just going to kind of give this a watch.
But we must get to the news, and we start with the Fox News alert. Anti-ICE protests erupting across the U.S. with thousands of clash-filled demonstrations taking place in cities like Los Angeles, Austin, and Minneapolis.
As DHS releases new video showing the minutes leading up to the fatal shooting of Renee Good.
Our own Matt Finn is live on the ground in cold Minneapolis with the latest on this entire event. Matt?
Hi, Rachel. The protests here in Minneapolis seem to be growing larger. Yesterday, a massive crowd, thousands and thousands of people gathered in Powderhorn Park in Minneapolis. That's a notable location because that is where former Minneapolis City Council members announced their now failed campaign to dismantle the police here in Minneapolis, and that really sparked a nationwide movement. Now, yesterday, after the demonstrations in that park, also similarities to the George Floyd riots in 2020, protesters marched down Lake Street. That was a much different scene yesterday because in 2020, many portions of Lake Street were set on fire during the George Floyd protests and riots. And
see, I never understood that. If you're gonna riot, why set your own place where you live on fire? I never understood that. Why destroy your home in protest of something the government's gonna do? Or did? All you're doing is you're causing damage to the place you live. And the government's not going to help you fix it. You're going to have to fix it yourself.
here are some anti-ICE protesters.
That's just stupid in my opinion.
They're not
absolutely
out here
stupid.
Trying to detain criminals. They're out here trying to incite chaos. And just, it has to be stopped.
I have always been surrounded by a lot of immigrants and my family and my roots. So I'm here to stand up for what I think is right, and we as a community are here together.
But now the immigrants you're surrounded by, did they come to this country legally? Or did they come illegally? Because being in this country illegally is already a crime. Not to mention crimes that others have committed on top of that.
Now, Minneapolis police say well over 1,000 protesters and some rioters damaged parts of the Renaissance and Canopy hotels downtown Friday. 29 people were arrested. One officer injured after being hit with a piece of ice.
Arrest them all.
A new video leading up to the moments of Renee Good's shooting death by an ICE agent on Wednesday.
See, look at that. Blocking fucking traffic.
The video appears to show
letting other cars go through.
Attempting to block the street and honking the horn. Now, Border Patrol here on the ground, they tell us it is dangerous for agents to be blocked in by a car because there are so many anti-ICE agitators who quickly surround them. And Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, along with other House representatives, say they were denied full access to an ICE facility here in Minneapolis yesterday.
Good.
This is just one more example of this administration and Kristi Noem violating the law. This is an out-of-control Trump's ICE.
When people are disappeared in the darkness, American democracy dies.
Oh, shut up. You're not here for democracy.
Who have committed crimes, who are in this country undocumented. They are disappearing U.S. citizens.
No, they're not.
Now, DHS fired back saying members of Congress were notified that their visit was improper and out of compliance with existing court orders and policies which mandate that members of Congress must notify ICE at least 7 days in advance of congressional visits. DHS also says Representative Omar basically led protests, cheered these protests on at the ICE facility. Back to you guys in New York.
Thank you,
Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Hey, Charlie, and Griff, do you guys remember Bill Bennett? He wrote a book called The Death of Shame.
Yes, indeed.
That's what I think about when I see Ilhan Omar just showing her face. Like, does she know shame of everything that's just happened in the Somali community?
No, she doesn't.
She knew what was going on in that, and she has turned a blind.
Isn't Ilhan Omar part of that like Somalian tribe that's trying to basically run Minnesota? I remember I heard something about it, but I'm not completely sure about exactly what it is.
Blind eye, she's defended it, and here she is, talking about all of this and getting on her high horse and really instigating and fueling so many of these riots here and protests against ICE, just trying to get rapists and murderers off the streets. I keep wondering, why, you say who's funding these groups? Why don't we know more about these groups?
True, but real quick about Ilhan Omar, you are right. She's not only fueling these protests, and sometimes it gets violent, but she's also fueling the anti-ICE rhetoric that is causing the ICE agents to have a 13% 100 increase in assaults on them, a 3,000 plus increase in vehicular assaults. But at the end of the day, Ilhan Omar is entitled to her opinion, but not entitled to her facts, as the saying goes. And she is saying, she is spreading this narrative that ICE is out to kill citizens and round up and disappear U.S. citizens.
So when you have thousands upon thousands of ICE arrests, yeah, it's gonna happen. You're gonna have a U.S. citizen here and there that gets picked up by ICE. Okay, it's gonna happen. Nobody's denying that. But the difference is once that citizen proves that, you know, hey, I'm a United States citizen, they verify it, ICE releases them. And that's what they're not talking about.
It's preposterous. It's not true.
Lies.
And actually, the people she's protecting, as we just pointed out earlier today, a illegal immigrant from Laos was convicted of sexually assaulting a 13-year-old child, then was allowed to roam free in Minneapolis because of the sanctuary city policy. And now ICE has a duty, an obligation to be there, and she is spreading a narrative that is totally false.
Yeah, they also picked up a Somali murder as well, an illegal immigrant Somali murder. She didn't say anything about that.
So
of course she didn't.
Platform, if your political effort right now is to defend child rapists, which is what Ilhan Omar and other Democrats in Minneapolis are doing, if that's your safe space in terms of like your political platform, what are you running away from? You're running.
It's because they want to go against Trump in anything that he does. That's exactly what it is. Anything that Trump does in these people's eyes is negative. Is that he's trying to be a dictator. You know, he's trying to be a king. There's going to be no more elections, which all of us with any type of intelligence or common sense knows that it's not true.
Running away from the biggest fraud investigation that we've seen certainly in my memory of covering politics, and as we've
in my opinion,
yesterday and today,
with her being part of that Somali community, she's trying to draw attention away from all the fraud that's going on with Tim Walz and the Minnesota government, with all the fraud going to the Somalians. So what better way to do it than draw more attention to ICE, draw more attention to immigration, and try to stir up chaos and havoc against the ICE raids. Because then nobody will be focusing on the fraud. It's a very easy thing to dissect once you think about it for a few minutes.
To reported that. This is we're just looking at Minneapolis, but this is going on all over the country. And earlier in the earlier hour, we talked
New York, California, some of the biggest ones.
Based in Minneapolis, talking about some of these protests, and this is what he had to say.
There was a lot more energy and ultimately a lot more flames in the summer love. Right now, the winter love isn't quite kicking off to what it used to be. And simply put, it's because of videos like this that have recently come out where we're seeing 3.5-minute narrative busters where DHS and President Trump ended up being correct from day one that this woman was impeding on law enforcement. She knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't simply a mom dropping off her kids or in the wrong place at the wrong time. She had been following them all day at this point and ultimately honking her horn and smiling and dancing to the beat of it. And ultimately, how do we get here? It's because of politicians like Tim Walz who came out here, labeled these ICE agents as Gestapo, and Peggy Flanagan, our lieutenant governor, who told these activists to, quote unquote, put their bodies on the line.
Yeah, and politicians like Tim Walz, but also really ungrateful immigrants like Ilhan Omar. She is also fueling that. And he's so right. As more angles come out, the story from the ICE officer gets proved over and over again. And these guys should be eating crow right now, but they continue to stand by their narrative because this is all about politics. It has nothing to do with what's right for the city of Minneapolis, the neighborhoods that are being set free from having rapists and murderers.
Yeah, they don't care about Minnesota. They don't care about the United States. They just care about what they want.
For Minneapolis politics, for Ilhan Omar, but I can't help but think that broadly speaking, nationwide, this does not help Democrats.
No, and history is going to look at this and say, as that report said, how did we get here? And they're going to look at the longer arc to realize that one president, Joe Biden, opened up the border and greatly put America's public safety, national security at tremendous risk by releasing more than 12 million illegal aliens from all over the world.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
Yeah, Biden completely fucked this country, in my opinion, with opening up the border, and Trump's fixing it. There's no way around it. It's that simple.